Hey, everybody. Good morning. I'm not sure what it's like where you guys are, but Dan and I are in the midst of quite the rainstorm right now. So hoping that we get to stay with you through this quick webinar looking at experiential top 5 best practices to deliver brand results. Presenting today with Dan Hunter, partner at IMI, and myself, Victor Cook. Dan and I have both worked on different experiential campaigns for over 20 years, everything from some very unique street corner sampling where literally people just dropped a pallet on the ground and started handing out cans, to Olympic events and the FIFA World Cup and different brands that have worked on that. So Dan is going to walk you through 5 different best practices that we've seen that consistently help deliver those brand results.
Great. Thanks, Vic. And yeah, I'm going to let you keep going, talk a little bit about us in case folks aren't all aware of IMI and what we bring to the world. Back to you, Vic.
Okay, sounds good. A little bit about IMI. We've been around for about 50 years. Our core motto, mantra, whatever you want to call it, is insight driving profit. We do that through, we have a database of over 50,000 case studies that we've looked at. And specifically on the experiential side, we have a database of 2,500 or so activations that we've measured. And again, across different categories, brands, financial services, B2B, B2C, beverages, whatever you can think of, there's a good chance that we've had a look at it. We provide fact-based guidance every step of the way. So from learning and pre-planning, so if you're thinking about events, so what type of activations are going to work? How should I set it up? What's going to be interesting? To confirming, you can do some testing and understanding, and then to execution. So that's on our side, and we do on-site measurement and post-event measurement looking at it. And we have a commitment to excellence. We work with over 150 client partners, over 45 countries, have done experiential in North America, the EU, Asia, Australia, South America. It's different everywhere, but it's the one thing that I love is it's one of those things that is always motivating to people. And I mean, it's something that we've seen over the past 25 years when you ask what motivates specifically North Americans, but we've done this in the EU and across the world as well. What influences them to purchase brands they don't normally purchase? The tactic always having the greatest impact is experiential. So being able to put that product in people's hands. So, and that's, comparing it to TV or promotional or even just like a base sponsorship. It's not about that. It's about, like I said, bringing something to the people, letting them live through your brand. So when we're looking at experiential, we look at it in 3 different ways. We look, number one, are you fishing where the fish are? So are your key consumers being reached? And that's important. So you want to make sure you're at the right thing. So if you have a kids brand, you don't necessarily want to be at, a jazz festival for older folks. That's not necessarily the right thing. And then we get to effectiveness. So are you having that positive impact on attitudes and behaviors? Are you moving the needle? And depending on what your brand is, that impact can be different. Maybe you're trying to drive trial. Maybe you're reinforcing a brand. Maybe you're trying to drive some consideration. If you're a bank, people aren't signing up immediately, but you want to change that mindset. And then finally, are you doing it in a cost-effective way? And again, we've looked at 2,500 plus activations across the globe, so we have a pretty good idea of how that works.
Yeah, Vic, that's basically the fundamental way that we're looking at experiential marketing. And to tie it into today's event, the reality is that center box effectiveness is kind of the main driver of experiential marketing, being able to drive impact. But going back up, making this, a viable tool in your marketing mix, it has to be efficient. You got to make sure you've got a high proportion of targets, as you mentioned, Vic. But you've got to scale beyond that moment of impact and broaden to a wider audience so that efficiency can drive a wider base, a broader base of effectiveness. Effectiveness literally being about impact from top of the funnel aware to new comprehension and driving purchase consideration and then actual purchase behavior or trial and loading, whatever your KPI or objective is. And doing that will likely drive cost effectiveness so that it is a viable tool within your marketing mix.
Sorry, one quick thing there, Dan. Sorry, I forgot to mention this when we got started. If anybody has any questions, because Dan and I are great at just chatting away, and we'll sort of talk about the different sides. If you have any questions or comments or like, whoa, what does that mean? Just throw it into the comments there, and we will try to answer for you.
Yeah, that's great. And also to let you know that we're going to be posting this on our website after the event. It'll probably be up this afternoon, so you can have a copy of this this presentation as well. So let's jump into it. We literally took our database of 2,500 studies and put in the query of what are the best tools and techniques to drive impact and efficiency and the principles of success versus those that didn't measure as well. So that's what we basically came up with and summarized to share with you guys. So let's start. The first key principle is that this is one experience. You want to leave them with one key brand learning. That's all you need to really drive impactful comprehension. And then that can convert to purchase consideration if interest and viable to your target. So let's compare that to traditional mass marketing, where the advantage really is reach and recall. Given the science behind the media of mass traditional media, you can get great reach. That's not the key strength of XM, but you can certainly get to a good proportion of your target audience. Where it really has its strength is the next layer down, and that's in comprehension and understanding of your brand benefits. Double that of a passive traditional media, and then that converting to impact on purchase, driving that lower funnel gain. You can see is about 3 times the strength. And this is just comparing across database averages, mass versus experiential marketing. Now, I wanted to dig into one that really exemplified simplicity and singularity of message. This was an orange juice brand, and it's a classic, an oldie but a goodie. But they really left their consumers with one message in that it was a sampling campaign of their orange juice brand, and their guarantee and their taste test challenge was, if it doesn't taste like fresh squeezed orange juice, we will give you a bag of oranges. So orange juice, fresh squeezed orange juice, I think they're getting it, and very singular. It's tough. Of all the marketers I know, it's very tough to be that singular in message, but these guys did a great job, and it was really one of the better ones we measured. Anecdotally can share, we generally talk to consumers who were at the event about 4 weeks later to understand the residual gains that you have on that comprehension and the purchase that they actually made post event. This one, we talked to them 3 months later, and guess what? The comprehension, the word of mouth on brand, and the purchase consideration were all at same levels. So the stability over time was dramatic with that singularity. There's too many messages, too many elements. It's not going to sink in like this. So Vic, maybe you can talk a little bit more about some more recent events we've attended.
Yeah, so I had the privilege of going down to the Toronto Fan Fest last week. I can't say that going in 45-degree weather and perhaps the single hottest day in all of Toronto was my best choice, but it's quite the atmosphere. And for anybody who got a chance, I think Toronto did just a great job of hosting. But it also gave us the chance to go see all of the different activations, whether it was Coca-Cola, Casamigos, OLG, the Toronto FC, like all the different folks there, and be able to it really put Experiential sort of on a display for everyone to see. And I think there was a lot of good work there. But one that jumped out at me that was very simple was on simple messaging was OLG. As you see on the left there, your place supports coaches and refs across Ontario. It was in their signage, so you always knew it. When we were there, the folks were talking about it. There was a thank you as far as what it does. OLG is kind of an interesting one because it's a lottery. It's Ontario. For those that don't know, it's the provincial lottery. They run a bunch of different gaming platforms and scratch cards and all sorts of different things. So FIFA, it's not necessarily a natural thing for that tie-in. That said, you have to figure out how to do it. So one of the things that the Ontario Lottery Corporation does is they do help support amateur sport. So they were able to do this and they were able to show it. They had a nice activation. Essentially, you can see on the right-hand side there, you lined up, you got a practice shot. It was kind of like a foosball game. And if you scored, you won a prize. And the prize was, for the majority of it, a different type of lottery ticket. So pretty simple message as far as helping to support the community and what they did and showing what LLG does and leveraging the broader platform of the Olympics, the World Cup and tying in football.
Yeah, great example of, singularity, that entertainment value and the chance to win, and then tying in the community is the secondary message. Okay, jumping to the second key principle for success is about engaging your target audience. Participation beats observation every time. This is about the play value and getting them literally activating, bringing your brand to life. It's the way that we learn. And when we learn, we then have the ability to act and change behaviors. So this is an example within our database of a fast-moving consumer good that we separated out the audience of those that were aware but did not engage or play. There was a 10% gain. So the association alone had an advantage, but not dramatically so. When they actually engaged in the activation, and meaningfully so, it actually swung up to a 40% gain, 41% gain in terms of purchase consideration. So 4 times the impact of only getting that passive read and being aware of signage, moving into an engagement or activation, brings it to life. So Vic, can you tell us a little bit about how Home Depot and the job they did in that?
I was going to say Home Depot was another activation that was at the Fan Fest, and Home Depot is, again, not one that you necessarily, there are certain brands that you think of. So if you're thinking sport and you're thinking football, you might, Powerade, for example, it's natural. So it ties. Home Depot, not necessarily one that, I'm automatically like, oh, World Cup. Oh yeah, let me renovate my house. So have to give it to the Home Depot folks for coming up for some unique things and some different things on how to leverage it, and actually leveraging some of their brands while they were at it. So they had some woodworking that was on the left hand here. It was like essentially a puzzle that you had to put together. They got the fans involved, and it was really good for the kids on the second image here. You got the bucket with the screen on it, but essentially they dropped the ball, and it was how many times can you dribble the ball? It's pretty fun actually watching this, because some people are, let's just say some people are not so talented, and some people are, holy geez. It's like that thing is glued to their foot. So it's pretty impressive. When you look at, so that there's sort of a natural tie-in with the World Cup. But what was interesting to me was there was a couple things they did. The Bear face paint department, and it was, if you think about going to the game, everybody likes, they're up there and they have their colors and what they can do. So you tie in one of your products, you tie in the paint, and then you get to pick your country, as it were. So you can see Germany and England there and the different colors, and you can put your flag, whether it's on your hand, they were putting it on your face, on your leg, whatever it was. I thought that was kind of neat and how they tied that in. And then finally, while you were standing there, you got to play a little foosball as well, except the players, there were some players, but there was also some Ryobi drills that became the players. So I thought it was really interesting how they brought some of their what they do for what I would call not necessarily a non-traditional partner, but then brought in some of their brands and some different things to really tie in and enhance your experience. So you have the face paint, which makes it a little better. It shows who you're cheering for and some different things. So I thought they had done a nice job there.
Yeah, that great point. It's not just about the play value and the gamification, if you will. It is about making it relevant to your brand. And I think that is our third principle. You need to make the brand role in the activation, in the event of the day, clear. So this really is about making sure that you're answering the why. Why is the brand here? How does it fit? What's that natural fit for the brand? So another classic that we pulled from our database, sometimes we call it our knowledge base, because it just we're able to look at examples that really do a great job here. So this is a music fest where TD Bank had a simple zone that allowed you to interact better with the festival. But if you recall at the time, the banks was standing for comfortable banking. How to make it come alive and bring it to a chill zone where you can listen to music, you can interact better with the festival by downloading an app to listen to the festival music. So when the brand equals comfort and the experiential value is saying you're able to interact better and chill in this zone, I think they did a very good job to say this is why we're at this festival and how TD fits for the day and the activation. So let's move to point number 4 of the top 5 key principles for success. Let's not forget about the second audience, the non-attendees. Clearly, you want to, as Vic said, fish where the fish are. Make sure your target is there. A good proportion of them are involved in your activation. But this second audience is going to give you the breadth of reach needed for efficiency and cost effectiveness. The non-attendees are going to learn about it in ways by amplifying the interaction. And we know that this drives solid ROI. So walk you through an example here of a beverage case study who were doing a tour across America all summer long. So they were able to reach 200,000 first generation folks at the events that attended the events and walked through their activation. But it doesn't end there, and nor should it. When we ask those folks who they talk to and even within their social circles, they told 6 people, whether that's face-to-face or digital, social. So that 200,000 people are now reaching 1 million of the target audience, which is essentially an opportunity for the brand to reach and have their message heard by a larger audience. But it doesn't even stop there. Because we not only talk to attendees of the event, we go out into the marketplace and talk to the similar target audience to understand the amplification of the event. We found out it was even greater than that. So those 200,000 folks at the target told 6 friends, who then told 4 more friends. So we had amplification on the amplification, if you will. So from 200,000 folks, they reached 2.5 million target, which is really a 10-fold advantage. Basically, it's the power of word of mouth, using, creating stories, providing social currency, and amplifying it. PR as well. It's essentially the earned media that you can get for an event. But beyond live, it's that social pass on, getting to a 10-fold. This example was 10-fold. I think we've even seen higher than that, Vic, in our database. But this was a really good example to share with you.
Yeah, which is kind of an interesting one. Side note on that one was actually from a research perspective for the researchers out there. That was actually a mistake we had made in our programming to learn about that. So good mistake to get that learning.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. Talking to folks and saying, "Had you heard about this event?" To folks we know who did not attend, and we went, "Wow, this is great learning." And then we started doing it all the time.
Yeah, it was like I said, at FanFest, you really got to be able to see that sort of, and I think brands and agencies have really done a great job of finding those once in a lifetime photo ops and ability to be able to share that. On the upper left there, it's one. For me, anyhow, I've done a bunch of these things, but over the years, Coca-Cola has always done a fantastic job. Whether that's with the Olympic torch or with the World Cup and the World Cup Trophy Tour, they've really understood, and they've sort of built on that. And especially at I will say at the fan zone there, you had the ability to take a picture with the picture that we have there with the trophy. They set it up with Canada and taking a picture with Canada and supporting Team Canada. Then you had a third picture that made it look like you were in the locker room. So they really gave full opportunity to be able to share and bring that out. And you talk about those different levels and what you can do. Lego did the same type of thing. They had a Lego statue. I will say, I think they could have done a little bit to enhance how they did that for people. And then you talk about those high demand giveaways. So, one of the guys who's running it now, a fellow named Brad Ross from Bank of America in the U.S. These World Cup bracelets at all the events became the sort of the go-to giveaway that everybody wanted. They had multiple bracelets. These things came up for sale. They sold out. People lined up forever. And again, this is a bank, so you have to find something that's going to do something and get people to talk about you and do some different things. So really came up with something good. Middle image there is the only thing I did want to put up. If you think about it, this was, again, I was there, it was 45 degrees. I was dying. It was one of the hottest days I've ever been through. Toronto FC had an event where it got to be like -10. You can see the snow on the ground. It was all fantastic. The only thing that I would say is you have these three gentlemen, they're happy. They got a couple drinks in their hands, but when they take the picture, they block out the brand. You've lost the brand there. So that would be the only thing I would say is make sure when you're providing these once in a lifetime opportunities that you don't lose that ability to showcase your brand and that you're providing that. So that would be the only sort of caveat that I had there. Again, 45 degrees, this tent was -10. I was absolutely loving being in there. Didn't want to leave. There's a line. You kind of have to. But you want to make sure that your brand is present so you at least get credit for providing this opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great point, Vic. I think, again, you want that talk power to be about what the brand delivered and what was going on. It's not, you don't want it to be to usurp all of the energy of being the giveaway or the photo op. It does need to still be branded, because in that orange juice example, it was the brand that they were still talking about 3 months later. So you want that to be hero. This is really more or less the excuse or the hook to get them in so that they're then spreading their social currency to their group. Well, let's talk about the fifth and final key principle here. We talked about many special principles that are going to bring an activation to life. That engagement really needs to lead to a relationship or a brand immersion, and the deeper that you can get an ongoing relationship. Here's an example of going from the live activation to going beyond and inviting them into your digital world where they can be more immersed in the brand. So extend the interaction. You're going to have greater lift. We've proven greater lift to purchase consideration and actual purchase. So here's an example of a snack food brand that have 3 different audiences here within the same group. We just sliced and diced so we could have a good look at them. Those that attended that did not engage, not bad. 40% purchase consideration post-event, which is beyond IMI's action standard of that line there, about 30%. When they engage, you get an even greater purchase consideration, the learning, the play value, and getting some deeper comprehension, getting up closer to 60%. But when they actually post-event, things are done, you're engaging them and inviting them into your web. They go to a landing page that may be about the event, but also about the brand itself. There's just greater immersion and surround. You get a 30% lift on either of those 2 options, even beyond those that engage in the activation day of. This is post, and now 2 things about them. That they have the interest in the event that they attended, and that they've met your brand. There's an introduction, and that's usually licensed to continue to immerse and gain more about the brand.
I was going to say the one key thing there is, and if you're thinking about it and you're a brand and you're looking at this and how you're going to engage with folks, everybody talks about doing this, and they make it, and you set it up and you have it and you try to get them to that sort of post-market thing. Make sure you actually do something with it. Because if all you're going to do is collect it and then never use it or don't have a plan for it in the post, then don't do it. Now you're just taking people's time and effort and getting them to sign up for something. Make sure that you have a post-event plan on what you're going to do. Sometimes people are like, oh, now it's great. We got a database of people we can talk to, but it just sits on a server and doesn't get used. So like I said, make sure your activation plan is an activation and a post-activation plan. Yeah,
and good segue into a company who does it really well. This is Coca-Cola's using the fan zone, but they don't just invite you into the event. We call it the bow tie as a buzzword in marketing, but the bow tie is you're doing pre-amplification and an invite to all the interesting things going on at the activation day of. Then there's the day of, which is very interesting. They've also got interactive tools to make that experience more special. And then the post is about amplifying to a group who may or may not have attended, right? But they're actually getting to see the gains that the brand brought day of, and then really advertising the next event. What this is Coca-Cola and soccer, but Coca-Cola really having doing things around various events, could be music or whatever is next. This is their digital fan zone where you get to learn about, and you can go several tabs to understand what is going on at the fan zone day of. Then the live fan zone experience, upload this app to make it even better. And these are some of the offerings as well, the Fanatron, the Fan Station, Gear Up. There's all of these possibilities, but don't forget that they're doing a great job post in inviting the folks back for whether that's purpose-made merch or some of the value, and also showing all the folks having great fun at the Coke Fan Zone. So that was a really good example most recently this month. So we don't have any questions. We'll summarize what we've learned here so that you can walk away and have a bit of a checklist as you go and start, whether you're developing or a brand leader in the area of experiential activation. The 5 principles that start with the first, focusing on a singular brand benefit. If that's new learning, even better, because that, especially when it's a driver toward purchase, you want to make sure that comprehension is happening. XM is an excellent place for you to drive home those brand benefits. The other is driving engagement, more than just hanging the sign or sponsoring a festival. You need to get them active. This is how they're going to learn new comprehension. It drives success, and they convert to the lower funnel benefits of purchase, trial, and load, depending on what your objectives are. Third is positioning the activation with the event. It has to fit legitimately. So this is a natural fit that people go, I understand why brand X is here and what they're offering and how it fits in. That just makes it that much more understandable and again, better on the recall part. So people understand that the brand is there for a given legitimate fit. And the fourth point is providing social currency. Vic showed you 2 great examples of whether that's a moment in time that only could be created, day of at the fan zone, or the Fan Fest, I should say, or high valued giveaways that are, once in a lifetime to get. That gives folks the reason to amplify from themselves into their social groups, and you're getting earned media beyond the attendees and impacting a much greater group, and hopefully ROI positive as well for cost effectiveness. And then lastly is that you've met them at that moment of truth XM event. You want to extend the relationship for greater brand immersion. Generally, your target is going to give you license to do so because they've just engaged with you at that live event. You want to keep the relationship going. So Vic, do you have any thoughts on those? Anything that really sticks out in you and your experience over the years with XM and great, I
was going to say, for me, I love the position, like a legit fit for the event. The fit is something that's so interesting because it's about your activations fit. Because the brand is there, but it's your job as a brand is to enhance people's experience. And if you do that, you will be a fit with the event. And there are brands that try to just shove themselves in and not change their messaging. And it's just sort of like, I got an activation, but it has nothing to do with the event. You got to make something that makes it better. You're going to a concert, make it a better concert. You're going to a fan fest, make it a better fan fest. You're going to, you know, a home show, make it a better show. Like whatever it is, you got to make it better. So that's just the one thing. If you end up and you're running an activation and it makes people's lives better and their experience better, you're going to win.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us on this rainy day in Toronto. And again, as we said, we will be publishing this on our website. So please, please come and join us on our content area.
On the next slide there, Dan, if someone wants to reach out to us, you can just grab our the URLs.
The QR codes.
Or the QR codes for us, for Dan, myself, and for the webinar.
Yeah, great shortcut to our newsletter to get you into IMI's realm, so that you could reach out to us personally as well. So thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and please feel free to reach out and enjoy your day.
Have a good one, folks.